Alpha, I don't know if we can keep pumping out these Inkspeditions so quickly. Each Inkspedition takes weeks to produce. From waiting for the map to show up in the rotation for each of the modes, down to the meticulous shots and editing we have to do for each one.
Well, you guys have been managing so far. With all the things coming out in each season, I need you all to be swift with covering as many of these maps as you can. That way we can maximize the amount of viewers we have.
Yeah, but eventually this grind can start to burn out our staff. We don't have a ton of manpower, remember? It's just Travis, the boss, and myself, plus a couple editors and cameramen. Plus I'm worried that the boss won't even get to properly scan through some of the maps we book him for.
Well, if your staff begins to get fatigued, then that's something we'll need to tend to. But you don't need to worry about the host of the Expedition's comprehension skills at all. He's not the type to take long to understand things at a deeper level. That's not how he was designed.
Huh? You can't be sure about that, though.
Oh, can't I? Tell him about the map we have in mind next, and see how fast his brain works. Hagglefish Market, a humble little seaside market that somehow has better map design than extravagant resorts. Hagglefish was a day one map that cephalopods could play on in the Splatlands, which we'll talk about in this episode of the Inkspedition. In Hagglefish, you can see an extensive amount of goods being sold. After leaving your base, you'll either be surrounded by food shops where you can order stuff like sushi and fruit, or clothing shops where you can order casual summer clothing like t-shirts, trunks, dresses, and hats. There's even more packaged goods scattered around Hagglefish, like some boxes of dragon fruit located in one of the pits. And to protect them from having an ink strike tear down their whole store, the shops within the boundaries of the map are sealed off, preventing entry during matches and recon. In one of the stores, a jellyfish is happily pressing a bunch of switches while another is completely mesmerized by the tarp protecting the store, and in the other, a jellyfish awaits their next buyer patiently while the other does things. I will never understand these creatures and their weird obsession with the ground. Unlike 38% of the maps that are first playable in the Splatlands, Hagglefish is not a map that was designed akin to that of a paralyzed snake. Instead, it's designed in more of a linear fashion. After leaving spawn, you can choose to go to the left or right and be spat out into one of the alleys, or you can go straight ahead into the middle. There's this little zigzag walkway if you want to be proper and you'll rush to the middle, but let's be honest, all of us either jump over the railing or go right through it. Every second counts in a match, and if I have to choose between staining my reputation by losing and hurting a stage architect's feelings, I know what I'm gonna do. To the side of the pathway is a nice roof for the backliner of the team. Not only does it provide a neat vantage point over the middle of the map, but should you get shot at from below, you can retreat to the side closest to your base and have some partial cover. In the hands of someone like me, a vantage spot like this is deadly. You brought an entire artillery tank to box us in and still failed. I expected better from someone who has an ink pun in their title. If you're looking to avenge your friend, you're gonna need to do better than that plastic tube. And as for you, Torpedo Tim, that's payback for when you were playing peekaboo like an annoying toddler with my aim. This is in your airspace, my friend, so I must shoot you down. Oh no, my platform, my sanctity, get me back there this instant! Now that I'm back up here, it's gonna take more than a ballpoint pen to get rid of me. And don't worry, I'll put your little friend out of his misery too, since he was foolish enough to jump to you. The maps in the Splatlands really inspire some thrilling backline gameplay, don't they? Another Inkspedition already? We just finished the one on Mahi Mahi not too long ago.
Alpha's orders. I've helped us release Inkspeditions much more consistently through planning them out in advance. I don't want them to become so frequent that we all begin to tire out. The boss most of all.
Well, I will say that this has certainly been more of a hustle than when Inkspedition was like an annual occurrence, but we should be fine for the time being. The boss was able to gather enough info on this map, right?
Yeah. And he did it with incredible speed. Looking through a map while casually playing on it and looking through a map to make an Inkspedition on it are two completely different things, but he made it look so simple. So boss, how much do you know about Hagglefish Market?
Well, I've picked up a couple things, like some neat positioning spots, but other than that, about as much as the average player. Is that where we're headed to next?
Yes, sir, and I have a couple pictures for reference if you want to take a look at them while coming up with stuff for the map.
Then just hand them to me and we can take a look. A change in map structure, finally.
Let me know if you need a few minutes or hours to look through everything. Whenever you do,
About 2,600 points in terms of size, a disgusting creature on the ground in the middle, 5 stores beside the bases, 2 stores in the stage, probably a single-digit number of inkable walls, and 48 interactable boxes that you can push around. Phew, I need to work on my time. That took a whole 4 seconds for me to figure out.
Okay, boss, you gotta be pulling my leg. There's no way you figured all that out from just a few pictures.
Okay, we'll be completely honest. The paintable walls and the eel fish thing I don't want to look at were for me playing on the map, but as for the other details, that's from these reference pictures. Like with the size of the map, I use the black blocks here as a scale, and since they take up about 1 point of ink, which I proved back when we were on the Umami, I figured the whole map was about 2,600 points in size. Everyone acts like I'm weird, but to me, this is completely normal.
Yeah, completely normal. If his ego doesn't get in the way, the boss can be even more quick-witted than I am.
Yep, as long as he ain't burned out, he can calculate things in his head faster than anybody else. When Umami released and he needed to do an expedition for that, he found out all about the map in 10 seconds while I was with him, down to the number of glyphs on it.
If you're telling the truth, then that's insane. Wait, how come you never told me about this before?
Because back then, I just swept it under the rug and did whatever the boss needed me to do for him. Also, if I did, you'd probably be even more paranoid by now.
Okay, well, you're right about that.
Once you go into the middle of the map, you can either go down into the alleyways or the central platform at the very center. The alleys are long stretches that also serve as flank routes that can get you to the other side. Well, not really, but look, the bar for flank routes in this game is so low it's serving as Satan's limbo stick right now, so we'll take what we can get. And if you need to retreat, there's also little sponges down there that can get you back to your team's base. Travis went with his lovely rollers to check out these lovely pathways. Down in these trenches, you gotta be sneaky as a summer raccoon if you want to get around. So before they can guard this area, I'm gonna catch my prey with absolute silence and finesse. God, you're stupid! Well, now with a hole breached in their defense, allow me to demonstrate my offense. Fernand, please, stop running, hun. It only makes things more humiliating when you do. Lordy, am I popular down here. At least let me come up over to your side for some air first. There we go, that's better. Goodbye, Endo. And as for you, Carbon, that beacon is where I was, but it ain't where I is. After all my effort, y'all still dropping like flies up there? What's going on up here? A couple feet of altitude ain't gonna be enough to stop me. Never mind, apparently it's gonna be exactly enough to stop me. Oh, by the way, did you ever study that sample of ink that you got from the boss?
I did, and you'll never believe what I found. Within the boss's ink lies. I have absolutely no idea.
What? How could he? Oh.
There is something there, but I've never seen a compound like it before. And I studied for years in the biological field. Everyone's ink is a little different, as each individual is a little different, but this compound is something wildly unique. If this is a part of the boss's biology, who knows what effects it has on him? That might be the reason for his insanely quick wit.
You know, if he's such a quick thinker like he is when he's scanning through maps for expeditions, then he should have figured out about any past life he had. Maybe he hasn't yet, not because he don't know how to, but because he don't want to. No matter how much faster you understand things than others, anything multiplied by 0 is 0. If you don't do any research, there's still nothing he can figure out.
Still, you can't just lock yourself off from the truth forever. Boss.
Once your team does begin to take control of the middle, then it sadly becomes a lot like the other maps. You can trap the enemy team in their base for most of the game, and a lot of their attempts to break out will be in vain. If your backliner goes in the middle, they can even stop the poor, pathetic opposition from going onto the roof and picking off your team. Go back to the Hunger Games, Katniss Everdork. Or actually don't, you'd probably die even easier there. Your only way back in normally is to ram your way in by building up your special weapons. Even when it comes to that, results may vary. Go on now, we're gonna get back into the middle and y'all are gonna like it. I already know how this ends. When it comes to the ranked modes, Hagglefish Market is a lot more consistent than many other maps. In tower control, the tracks prop up the tower right next to the enemy snipes, allowing the defenders ample chances to pick people off from the tower, while still allowing attackers to go up in their base and fight back. In Rainmaker, it's just a mad dash straight to the Rainmaker pedestal that you can actually cut down on if you jump into the enemy base using the lowered Rainmaker checkpoint. In Clan Blitz, you have to whittle the enemy defenses down enough so you can get to the basket nicely nested in their base. And in Splat Zones, everyone just picks a corner of the easily contestable zone to fire from until someone gets bored and flanks the other team or releases their specials. Overall, Hagglefish is a decent map to play on no matter what mode is currently in rotation. It definitely has its flaws, but whether you like being an anchor that likes to set up in one position or a slayer that can sneakily navigate around the map, Hagglefish tries to offer a little something for every playstyle. I've been your host and you've watched the Inkspedition. So what are you gonna do now if you don't know where that stuff comes from?
Well, right now, all we can do is look around the Splatlands and Inkopolis for any clues or things that match what that substance was. I've been picking up samples from around Hagglefish, and I'll see if those can help us out.
Well, I still don't get how all of this works. You seem like you finally have some substance to your wild theory now. In time, you'll have to show me all the who's and what's it's and walk me through it again so I can fully back you up.
I will. Well, we gotta head back to Splatsville now, so let's help pack everything up.
Another Inkspedition all recorded? Yes, and by the deadline you requested. All thanks to my lovely crew and my immaculate mind.
I even had time to think about some data I collected on you, boss, and how it might relate to your past.
Oh, really? And let me guess, my educated echidna. Did you in fact figure out that I was a pioneer of the arts? Or maybe a master tactician? Or who am I kidding? I was probably both.
Oh, I didn't piece any of that together at all. It's something very, very different than that.
Oh, okay. Well, There's still more data for you to gather, so you can always change things. Just you watch, I'll be right. At least I better be.
Alpha, are you alright?
Yes, I'm fine. I just had a bit of a dizzy spell. These things happen. I'll be okay.
Still, you can't be doing this in the middle of the city. Now let's get you somewhere for you to rest.